So the first thing I do when I get the fabric, I order it from Joann's online, gets delivered here, and first thing I do is put it in the washing machine. Then when I pull it out, I iron it, and then I go to cut out the pieces. So I've made a little pattern, and I've drawn onto the fabric so I know where to cut. And I just cut out piece after piece after piece until I have the whole bit of fabric done with pieces like this. And I sew the two pieces together. And I do them all at once to make one long piece, and then I can take it into the other room and continue the process of snipping and pinning. Back at the snipping table, I separate the pieces, and then I also snip along the seam line here, so that way when they turn the other way, they will open flat. Then I've also made myself another tool because I do put a dart in it to make it fit across your face better. So I just lay this on here and draw two lines, and then when I sew, I will sew the dart into the fabric. And here I have all my sets cut out, and then I go ahead and pick what patterns I want. It takes 3 of them to make each mask so that there's 3 complete layers on your face. This is one of the most tedious tasks that I'm not really fond of, but I believe needs to be done, is I iron the seams open, because there's going to be 6 seams at your nose and we don't want it to bulk up. So ironing these seams out helps to lay the front flat, and it helps to stop it bulking up, and it also makes it easier to sew the seams which go over these seams. Here I have what I call as my assembly line of all the different stages in which the masks are to be done. And I'm now going to get ready to sew all of these different stages, and then I'll go into the other room and do the pinning and clipping and flipping that I have to do to get them ready for their next stage. This step, the darts that I drew in the other room, I'm now pinned, so this is where I will sew the darts in, which on this one you can see they're here, which makes it tighter around your face. And these ones are just getting started. I've just finished the ironing on them, and for the inside piece where you can slip a filter in between, I sew these down, and then I'll get ready to go through the rest of the process. As I'm sewing across the top of the mask, I stop where the wire is and make a little sub seam going up and down, so that way the wire doesn't slip off your nose. So I'm just going to sew across the top here. So it's been about 2 hours, and now I have all the sewing done on all the different sets, and I'm ready to go in the other room and do my clipping and pinning. This step I call the flip. I find it a very satisfying step because then I can see if the choices I made of fabric coordinate with each other, and I like it. Then I finger press the seams to get them flat so it will lay in the shape that it's supposed to lay in. And this takes a little bit of maneuvering. And then I fill down the center seam and make sure that there's no bumps or lumps that might annoy you on your face. And I do the bottom seam the same way. I will press this with the iron, but I finger press it just to get it in the right shape. And then I pin the ends closed so that way I can iron it flat. And of course you have to do the other side also, and I'm going to pin that shut too. And then I do kind of a final check for any little wayward threads that might be sticking out, and I make sure I trim those off so they aren't in the way later. And now this stack is ready to go be ironed. So these have been pressed nice and flat, and they're holding their shape well. And so then I do need to put in the little metal to go over the nose, so you can press it down and it'll stay close to your nose. And this takes a little bit of maneuvering to get it in there properly. I try to get it in between the little darts, which makes it just about perfect over your nose. And then I pin these, so that way when I sew it stays in place. I make sure to keep the little plastic thing flat, so that way it's flat on your nose and doesn't irritate you. So here's the dart, which has a little seam on the inside, and so I put it next to that. I will sew another seam in there later to make sure that this little piece of plastic plastic and metal doesn't float back and forth. So now there's the bridge for over your nose. Now all the sewing is done, so now is the most fun part. I get to actually tie the threads to make the straps adjustable. I did have to watch about 3 or 4 YouTube videos to learn how to do this effectively. And what I like about this is it does make it adjustable. So people, you know, bigger heads or ears or whatever are able to adjust them. I usually typically leave them at the smaller size, but anyone who is using them can make the straps bigger or smaller. And if you need them even smaller than what I make them, you can untie it and clip the elastic shorter, and then make your loops the size that fit your head the best. After they come out of the washing machine on the sanitize cycle, they're a little scrunched up. So I did a little bit of ironing, and these ones are ready to go. So I packed them up. I put 20 in a bag, and then they're ready for delivery. And to date, I've handed out 675 masks, and I'm still going. My goal is 1,000. But if I can save one life, especially that one of a healthcare provider, then it's all worth it. Thank you.